So welcome to your results show for Middle East Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the events. So we have a log press 140 kilograms for reps in 60 seconds. We have a super yoke, which was 350 kilograms for distance in 60 seconds. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. The distance was very short, lots of picks, so very different from what we're used to seeing. Farmer's walk was 150 kilograms, 23 meters for time. So that 23 meters was split up into 3 lengths, so out, back, and out again, with guys going head to head. Then we had the return of the train railway carriage, which we just saw at WUS Dubai. It is the same WUS setup. Since this show actually is a WUS World's Ultimate Strongman Qualifier, the winner of the show is qualified to then compete in WUS or World's Ultimate Strongman shows. So just one, and 17 guys competed here. And as far as they told us, just one, just the winner qualified. So a very prestigious spot there. It happened at Strong Gym in Dubai, and Mark Boyd of WUS was the head referee. So, of course, the last event, the Atlas Stones, 5 Atlas Stones, 90-second time limit this time. 100 to, they kept changing what they were saying, whether the max was 180 kilos or 200. I believe it ends up being 180. So you had a 100 kilogram stone, a 120, a 140, a 160, and a 180, of course, for time. Who were our competitors? So we had a lot of awesome competitors. We had Evgeny Markov, Pavlo Cordayaka, Mohammad Reza Tazaru, Reza Gay Tassi, Hossein Zedaya, Pavlo Nakonechny, who makes his return after that Giants Live show where he competed and had the unfortunate incident behind the scenes after the fact, after performing very well in a lot of that competition. We had Mohsen Maznabadi, we had Ibrahim Hassani, we had Ilya Khazoff, Ben Williams from the UK, Salem Hersala, Aref Ahmadi, Salman Salem, Dale McPherson, Jerome, who they kept calling Kip instead of Jerome, but on Strongman Archives he's Jerome, so we'll go with Kip Peaver, Madi Kayati, and Ali Reza Baba Shakali. So those are our competitors for the Middle East Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the first event, the log press. So starting off with Madi Kayati, he was 0 points here, so he went third in the order. Versus Baba Shakali, there was a head-to-head with the log press. He had all kinds of difficulties. It rolled backwards off the pads. I was thinking the pads maybe should have been a little longer because a bunch of guys had problems with the rolling, but 0 points for him. Jerome or Kip Peaver hits 0 as well here. He went fourth versus Markov. Couldn't get it going. 0 for Pavlo Nakonechny, but wait a minute. He did some reps, so what happened here? Craziness happened. I don't know if unusual circumstances are now clouding Pavlo. I hope not. But basically, here's what happened. He went 7th in the order versus Tazaru. He got the first press on 2 tries. He had 1 clean, 2 attempts at the press, got it. Then the next one kind of dropped through him all the way back to the setup for the Atlas Stones that was behind them against the wall. Then he got his second one again on 2 tries on 1 clean. Then he had 2 more reps, each on 1 try, so 1 clean, 1 press each. But the problem is he didn't look through on any of them. He would press them, look up, come down, press them, look up, and Mark Boyd shouting at him the whole time, you gotta look through, you gotta look through. He did not get credit for any of the reps. So Pavlo Nakonechny did what looked to me to be 4 good reps here. Would not have won him the event, but 4 good reps would be decent points and gets credit for none of them. So they actually said he wasn't understanding or listening to the commands. I thought maybe it's a language barrier, but Mark Boyd was adamant and then had a whole powwow with all the competitors after this event was over saying, listen, you have to listen to the commands and the instructions. We're not going to have any tolerance for this. So 0 for Pavlo, unfortunately. Salman Salem ends up with 1 rep. He went versus Hersala. He had a big stumble forward on his first attempt, but got his 1 rep for 4 points. 5 points goes to Ali Reza Baba Shakali. So he comes away with 2 reps. He went third versus Kayati. It was difficult for him, but he got his 2. He was grabbing his elbow afterward. Maybe some injuries. He did end up withdrawing later, so maybe this was the beginning of that. 6.5 points go to Dale McPherson. He ends up with 4 reps, so he went 8th versus Khazoff. He was very good for being the smallest man in the show. Ties with Salem Hersala, who also comes away with 4 reps, 6.5 points. He came back in with about 9 seconds to go in the time limit and got another rep there, so awesome for him. 8 points go to Refa Madi, so he does 5 reps. He went 6th in the order versus Masnabadi. He got the first Viper, but then he was bobbling to get it, so bobbling a lot to get it. He did get it, and then his last attempt came down on his head near the time limit, so just all kinds of craziness for him. Ibrahim Hassani comes away with 9.5 points here. 6 reps. He went 2nd versus Ben Williams. He did well, and then he let his last one kind of roll off the screen and didn't chase it. He bowed out after 6, but still a great performance there. 9.5 points get split with Reza Gaitasi. This guy's a giant. They kept referring to him as the giant. They didn't say how tall he was, but he was much taller than everybody else and moved like a lightweight. It was unbelievable. So he went 5th versus Hossein Sada, and they kept calling him the giant there. 12 points then go to Ben Williams. So he does 7 reps, going 2nd versus Hassani. He was known as a big log presser coming into this and really performed well there. Everywhere was smooth and powerful. 12 reps also go to Ilya Khazoff, a really huge guy. If you go to the YouTube channel where I was able to watch this for free that I'll put in the description for you, you'll see what I mean. He went 8th versus McPherson. He manhandled this log. It almost rolled forward off the pads a couple of times. He maybe should have stood a little further back, but the weight was no problem for him whatsoever. 12 points also go to Mohammad Reza Tasaru, who became one of my favorites going through this competition. I don't know if it was like, despite the gray hair, he kept up with all the younger guys, or maybe he's just gray and not older. But he just did so well in so many events that I became a real fan of his throughout this. 7 reps for him. And by the way, he was the guy who went versus Pavlo Nakonechny with the infamous not putting the head through thing. 15 points go to Moshe Masnabadi, so he comes away with 8 reps. He went 6th versus Ahmadi. He vipered all 8 of his reps unbelievably. Hossein Sada comes away with 8 reps as well, 15 points for him. He went 5th versus Gaitasi, as we mentioned. Started off with 4 Viper presses. Now, this log a little bit lighter than what we've seen in some of the Giants live competitions, so maybe expecting a little more vipering, but not 8 reps like some of these guys did. Pavlo Cordayaka, who did also very well in a lot of these events, 8 reps for him. He went last alone because we had an uneven number, 17 competitors. He had a lot of love in the live chat as well. I noticed people were saying, yeah, he's going to win this competition and whatnot. He had fast reps. He never let go of the log. Good strategy to stop the rolling, right? If you never let go of the log, it can't roll off the pads away from you, so that was a very good strategy. And then we have 17 points going to the winner, Evgeny Markov, who went 4th versus Peaver, as we mentioned, and I said, damn, he caught a few of them in midair off the pad bounce, so he put them down, they bounced off the pad, he caught him in the air and went right back up. An incredibly powerful dude. If you watch him throughout most of these events, it looks like he's kind of a wide, stocky guy who picks things up with no effort. Like when we get to the Atlas Stones, you'll see a similar thing. So that's how the log press shook out at Middle East Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the Super Yoke. And at this time, I'd like to let you know that this video is being sponsored by our good friends at Garage Gym Life Media. If you like some of the analysis I've done on domestic contests in the past and want to know some more about the fine folks who are putting together and streaming some of those contests, I'm going to let John Greaves III, the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, tell you a little more about it.
I wanted to be a part of Static Monsters since I first heard about it. In 2020, you had 985 competitors from 19 countries. The idea of people from all around the world competing in the axle deadlift and the log clean press all at the same time on the same day is something that's just mind-blowing. Normally, you'd have to fly overseas and then you only compete against the people who are also able to fly to that same location. It's a blessing for us to be able to not only live stream this event, but also be a part of bringing it to somewhere close to us here in the Southeast. So this is not only an amazing opportunity for the average competitor to be able to see where they stack up against the top athletes in the sport of strongman, but it's also a rare situation where you are literally competing head to head. And I'm just really blessed for our live stream company to be a part in some small way of getting the story of these amazing athletes out there who are doing a historic thing.
Starting off with Madi Kayati. He came away with 1 point, did 25.1 meters on the yoke. They did mention that this was the same yoke used in WUS Dubai 2021, but this was, as I mentioned, a short track with lots of pickups. I didn't necessarily like that, right? So it was 23 meters divided by 3, whatever that comes out to, because that's what it was for the farmers. So 23 divided by 3, it was like less than 8 meters per length. So they have to come out, drop it, pick it up, come back, drop it, pick it up, come back. So it was constantly dropping and picking, and not necessarily great for the athletes, I thought. 2 points go to Peaver, so he went versus Kayati. Again, here I mentioned they're calling him Fit Peaver, so it might be a nickname that he has, but he's known as Jerome on Strongman Archives, so we'll go with either one. He dropped on partway through the first lap, had to pick it back up. He was behind the whole time, but he overtook Kayati after his last drop. 3 points go to Alireza Shakali, so 52.5 meters for him. He went third versus Salem. He was slower, maybe due to his taller height. 4 points go to Dale McPherson. He went 55.4 meters, went fourth versus Hersala. He paused a second after the pick to steady himself, and then was slow and steady after that. 5 points go to Ilya Khazoff, so he went 59 meters, went sixth versus Hassani. He had a slight pause after the pick as well, but then he edged ahead near the end, but ended up slightly behind. 60 meters and 6.5 points go to Salman Salem. So he went third versus Shakali. He was very fast. He stopped with 5 seconds left at the end of a lap and kind of walked away for some reason. I thought he could have had a few more meters and gone into the lead if he had passed 62.5 meters, which he made 60. So I don't know why. Maybe he was just exhausted, but he seemed like he had more in the tank, just walked off. 60 meters also go to Ibrahim Hassani, so also 6.5 points for him. He went versus Khazoff. He slowed down near the end. And then we had 62.3 meters and 8 points going to Pavlo Cordayaka, probably the biggest name that we knew from other shows going into this competition, but I've become a fan of a lot of these guys because they had great performances. They will be the big names going forward. He went first, so he didn't take a transition rest until after 6 laps. So full lap, put it down, pick it up, full down, put it down, pick it up. He didn't stop in between any lap until 6 laps were done. These laps, as I mentioned, were crazy short because what they were trying to do is have a head-to-head. So you would have one guy here going toward each other, drop, go away, go toward. Where I think what they should have probably done is had one guy go at a time and go the whole length and then come back and not have all that picking. 63.2 meters and 9 points go to Mohsen Masnabadi. So he went 8th versus Cordayaka. He was fast, but up against a speed demon who lapped him. They were at the same position at one point, but Cordayaka was actually 2 laps ahead to get to that same position. 67.5 meters or 10.5 points go to Salem Hersala, and so he went 4th versus McPherson, pretty much running the whole time. His 5th lap was the first one that looked hard for him. 10.5 points got split with Ben Williams, so he went 67.5 meters. He went 7th versus Reza Tasaru. He was very fast, but Reza was faster. And like I said, Reza Tasaru really got my attention in this competition. I've become a fan of his. Hossein Hosseinzadeh went 68.8 meters for 12 points. He went versus Markov, a very good distance, but Markov was otherworldly in this competition, which you'll see a little higher up on the list. Mohammad Reza Tazaru, who I've just mentioned, went 68.9 meters. He was ahead the whole time and gets one last pick for a meter or so toward the very end. 72.7 meters and 14 points go to Rafa Madi, so he went 5th versus the giant Gaetasi. This was a really close match and awesome to watch, and as you see, Gaetasi just edged him out with 74.6 meters and 15 points. 16 points go to Pavlo Cordayaka, who manages 77.8 meters in the time limit. He went 8th versus Masnabadi. He was basically running most of the time, so unbelievable to watch, only to be outdone by Evgeny Markov again, 2 events in a row now. 77.9 meters, so he wins by 1/10 of a meter over Cordayaka. He went 9th versus Hosseinzadeh. He never looked like it was heavy for him. He made this look easier than anyone else. His breathing looked really controlled. Just everything about this was awesome for Evgeny Markov. So that's how the Super Yoke shook out at Middle East Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the farmers. For those of you always tuning in to see my detailed analysis and my spreadsheets and love what you're watching and want access to them yourselves, I do offer that now as part of my YouTube channel membership level 2. So you can go over to my YouTube channel, click the join button as you see here, and then I have 3 different levels. So level 1 gets you all kinds of customized badges, and then you get custom emojis to use on live streams. You get member shoutouts every month, gets members only community posts, a whole bunch of different behind the scenes stuff and all, just in level 1 at an extremely, extremely reasonable price. Level 2 gets you access to all my Strongman analytics spreadsheets, everything I ever create or ever will create. I add links to that in the membership community for that, and then you can be a live guest on my show as well. Just wanted to let you know that memberships are available at extremely reasonable prices, and you can help support the channel that way as well. Now on to today's content. So as we mentioned, Shakali withdrew, so 0 points for him. 2 points go to Del McPherson, who does 0.75 meters on the farmers, not very far at all. He seemed badly hurt. The camera panned away. You heard a clank. It panned back. You see he had fallen over. He was on the ground. He got some treatment. He was okay afterward, but did not make it very far and was momentarily hurt there. 1 meter for Madi Kayati. So he went first alone. It came out of his left hand right away. He readjusted. The other one came out of his right hand. Just couldn't get anywhere. 4 points go to Ben Williams for 10.2 meters there. He went 6th in the order. He was first to go alone after the broken farmer's leg. So a farmer's leg actually broke, which we'll get to in a moment. He finished his lap. He turned around and positioned them very narrow and couldn't get anything substantial going after that. 5 points go to Salem Hersala, 20 meters for him. He went 7th. He was very fast, and he dropped his left handle right before the very end. When the handle dropped and flipped over, it's the auto end of the event. So if you drop the farmers and it flips over, you can't pick it back up. So that was the end for him, 20 meters. 35.97 seconds for Jerome Peavers. So he actually finishes, the first guy to finish, 6 points for him. He went 2nd alone. He was supposed to be against Shakali, who withdrew, as we mentioned. I said it was weird here. The first and second laps were slow and labored for him. He looked like he hurt his leg at the end of the second lap. The staff ran over to help him. He shook him off, no, I'm okay, and then did a really fast third lap. So I don't know what happened there. It was very strange. 33.338 seconds, or 7 points for Hossein Sada. So he went 8th. He was fast, but his grip failed halfway through the first lap. He kept going all the way to finish, but he had too many drops to get a good top-end time here. Speaking of which, 8 points go to Ilya Khazoff, who does it much faster in 24.06 seconds. He went 3rd versus McPherson. 9 points go to Ibrahim Hassani, so he does it in 19.87 seconds. We're getting some fast times now. He went 4th versus Salem. Both of them were fast. Pavlo Cordayaka comes away with 10 points here, 18.48 seconds for him. He went 12th in the order. He was decent, but slower on the last lap and got his hands kind of tangled on his first turn. So he went to turn around. His hand got stuck behind him, and he couldn't seem to let go of the farmers to whip it around and pick up the other one to get going. 18.26 seconds was the time for Salman Salem, who manages 11 points here, going against Hassani. And Mohammad Reza Tazaru getting close again to the top of the leaderboard. 12 points for him, 16.58 seconds. He was fast and smooth, no drops, and as I said here, this guy looks good at everything. Reza Gaitasi, the Giant, 13 points for him. He does it in 16.48 seconds. He went 11th. It's kind of unbelievable how fast this huge guy can run and his transitions. He dove across the finish line. And then you had Aref Ahmadi, who manages this in a tenth of a second faster, 16.38 seconds, going 10th in the order. A very quick time, 14 points for him. Mohsen Masnabadi comes away with 15 points here. 15.74 seconds was his time. He went 5th versus Nakonechny. He had a very fast time, but was outdone by Flying Pavlo, as I call him. You'll see later why I called him that. We should also say Masnabadi's left hand, farmer's leg broke. So when he finished, he put them down. The farmer flipped over and the leg broke off of it, which caused them to have one guy go at a time and no more head-to-head after this, which is why I mentioned the 6th person in the order went alone and after that, and so forth. Evgeny Markov comes away with 16 points here, 14.75 seconds for him. He went 13th in the order, very fast, seemed to be able to use his wide frame to take bigger steps than some of the others, and he was outdone only by Flying Pavlo. So Pavlo Nakonechny, 17 points for him, an unbelievable 13.66 seconds. Remember, this is 3 laps. They're short laps, but you're still transitioning in between. How somebody can be he looked like a rocket ship the whole way through. He looked like he was on fire and was trying to run away from fire. He was so fast, unbelievably. He accelerated the whole time, and when he put them down, he had so much momentum that he flew all the way across to Masnabadi's side and all the way to the end of his side to the starting position, and thus flying Pavlo. Let's have a look at the chain railway carriage, the kickback from WUS Dubai. Starting off at the bottom, we have Baba Shakali again, who had to withdraw. We have Araf Madi, who ends up with 0 points. He was disqualified, so he went 8th in the order versus Masnabadi. He went on the 3 count instead of the whistle, so the referee who was calling out start times would give like a 3, 2, 1 whistle, or it was 1, 2, 3 whistle, whatever it was. It was a 3 count and then a whistle, and this is now our 4th event, right? So they've been doing it this way for every event. The competitors know by now, and he went early anyway. He went on the 3, 1, 2, 3 instead of the whistle that comes after the 3. They stopped him. He was disqualified. One of the commentators said that the Iranian athletes had gotten repeated warnings about early starts and just they weren't going to be putting up with this anymore, so he gets 0 there. Madi Kayati comes away with 3 points here. 24.43 seconds was his time against Ben Williams. Dale McPherson comes away with 4 points. 21.46 seconds for him. He went first in the order. A very fast time. It's unbelievable. It was unbelievable to me that anyone else could go any faster than this at this point. I had seen the results, so I knew he only had 4 points, but he looked really fast. So let's see what the others do. And speaking of that, I started thinking when he did that so fast and only had 4 points, that the chains or the apparatus should be a little heavier. It seemed like it was too easy for him. Ben Williams comes away with 5 points, 21.07 seconds. He went second versus Kayati. He was much faster on the push, his run back, and he was great on the pull when he had a good arm-over-arm rhythm, but then he jerked it back and lost it, so he lost a little bit of time there. 6 points go to Salem Hersala, so he does it in 20.32 seconds. Versus Pever, a good time, but never solidified his pull technique, and that's why he wasn't closer to the top. 7 points go to Salman Salem for 19.82 seconds. He went versus Cordayaka. He was a little slower on the run back and had some trouble with the pull. Pever gets 8 points here. 17.39 seconds was his time. He went third in the order versus Hersala. He was super fast time, but he never looked like he was pushing or running that fast. Like, he just made it look easy. The arm-over-arm technique must have made up lots of his time because he didn't seem super fast on the other things. So, his time ended up spectacular. So that must have been what happened there. Ilya Khazoff comes away with 9 points, 16.26 seconds for him. He went 4th versus Hossein Sada. They crisscrossed each other on the run back, but it didn't seem to slow him down. It was kind of well-timed, I guess. He was very fast on all aspects of the event. 10 points for Masnabadi, so he does it in 15.84 seconds. Went 8th versus Amadi. Maybe lost a fraction of a second looking over to the staff on the run back to see why Amadi had stopped, but really a fraction of a second. Like, he didn't lose a step. He kind of was on the run back, looked on the run back and kept going and quickly understood what had happened and never lost any time. Reza Gaitasi, 11 points for him, 15.79 seconds. Again, that is the giant, moving exceptionally well for his size. Unbelievable how fast he is. 12 points go to Evgeny Markov, who does this in 15.78 seconds, went 9th versus Pavlo Nakonechny. He was very fast, but was behind a bit on the push, ran back fast, started behind on the pull, made up some time on the pull, but then bobbled it a little bit at the end, and Pavlo got a better time than him there. Ibrahim Hassani gets 13 points for 15.71 seconds. He went 5th alone due to Baba Shakali's withdrawal. He had no mistakes. He maybe just looked at his work for a split second after the push before running back, just for a split second. But other than that, no mistakes there. Good run the whole way. 14 points go to Reza Tazaru. Again, like I keep saying how much I like watching this guy compete. 15.31 seconds for him. He went 7th versus Gaitasi. He was right behind Gaitasi on the run back. A couple more steps and you probably would have run into him. But then he overtook him on the pull. Hossein Sada comes away with 15 points here, 14.95 seconds. He went 4th versus Khazoff. It was the fastest time so far. Maybe his pre-event calisthenics that he was doing, raising his legs and whatnot, helped out. He also didn't run straight back. He ran in a wide curve like a baseball player would do to carry on momentum, and that might have helped him as well. He seemed to even be grabbing the waiting rope as he was still sitting down, so I think he made up some time there. Just a bunch of little technique tweaks there that worked out really well for Hossein Sada. 16 points for Pavlo Cordayaka, 13.68 seconds for him. He went 6 versus Salem. He had a powerful run back like a football running back would be. Like, he ran with purpose. His arm over arm was good, but not the best of the bunch, so it's crazy to think that his time could have been even better than this if he had a better arm over arm. And Pavlo Nakonechny ends up winning this event, 17 points for him, 13.42 seconds, an unbelievable time for Pavlo. He went 9th versus Markov. This looked like a rocket ship exploding through the air the whole way through. No part of this event was slow for him. Super fast push, exploding run back, fast arm over arm, just the prototype of how you should do this event. So that's how the chain railway carriage shook out at Middle East Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the last event, the Atlas Stones. So, of course, we still have Baba Shakali, who withdrew, 0 points for him. 0 points for Aref Ahmadi, who had also withdrawn by this point. Madi Kayati comes away with 3 points, does 3 stones in 29.41 seconds, going against McPherson. Masnabadi comes away with 4 points. He does 4 stones in 54 seconds. He went versus Reza Tasaru. He got to the 5th stone, so this was a little weird. He got to the 5th stone. The staff was helping the 4 stones stay in the hole, in the cutout, but it kind of got away from their hands, fell off, and then they called him and made him come back to lift it again, and then he never got the 5th. So to me, the rule should be more clear. Either the staff doesn't help the athletes at all with positioning the stone in the hole and they have to do it themselves, or they help them. There is no in between. You help or you don't. It's not that you help and the athlete thinks it's over and then you bring them back. I think that's very confusing, and this didn't happen just with him. In terms of the fall, it happened just with him. But in terms of the helping, they helped a lot of the athletes. And then at certain points, the staff would say, hey, no, you have to get it back in the hole. It just seemed inconsistent. Would have liked to see some more consistency there. So moving on up, we have 5 points going to Kip Peaver. So 4 stones in 25.69 seconds for him going against Hersala. Salman Salem gets 4 stones in 16.82 seconds, 6 points for him. He went versus Ben Williams. He couldn't finish, but the weird thing is that I noticed here is that each platform holds 2 stones. But think about that. They're lifting an odd number of stones. So you put up stone 1 and stone 2 on one platform, stone 3 and stone 4 on a second platform, and your stone 5 is going on a platform that is the same platform of the other guy's stone 5. So you kind of bump in elbows. It was a little bit of a strange situation there. 7 points go to Ibrahim Hassani. So he does 4 stones in 15.54 seconds, 7 points for him. He went 5th versus Pavlo Nakonechny. I just noticed at this time that the first platform for each guy has no holes on it. So again, some inconsistency. If you're expecting the athlete to get the stone in the hole and one of the platforms for each guy has no hole, like, you have some inconsistent rules now. So just would like to see some more consistency there. 8 points go to Dale McPherson. 5 stones in 64 seconds. He went versus Kayati. The crowd got behind him on the 5th, and he actually got it. What a comeback from being on the floor, getting treatment earlier on that Farmers event that we mentioned. Finished off strong. Ilya Khazoff comes away with 9 points, 5 stones in 43.68 seconds. He went alone. His 4th stone rolled around a lot, but finally took his time and got it in and got the 5th. Salem Hersala comes away with 10 points, 5 stones in 25.35 seconds for him. He went versus Peaver, a very good time. Got his 5th in even before Peaver got his 4th in. Ben Williams, 11 points for him, 5 stones in 24.06 seconds. He gave an FU motion to the camera after he finished, so I'm not sure if that was toward the crowd or angry at the stone for, like, how dare you, stone, try to stop me, I'm going to overcome you, or the referees. I don't know what that was, but I'll show you a photo of that. Hossein Sada comes away with 12 points, 5 stones in 23.9 seconds. He threw the first one up super fast like it was on fire, but then bobbled the second one and seemed to just generally be trying to go too fast on some of these stones. But then he got all 5. They made him go back to the 4th, which wasn't moving, and roll it into the hole, which is BS because other guys got help with this. So again, just a little standardization. Pavlo Cordayaka comes away with 13 points, 5 stones in 20.73 seconds. He went last versus Markov. He struggled a little bit with the fifth, but he got a good time anyway. 14 points for Pavlo Nakonechny, 5 stones in 18.8 seconds for him. He went fifth versus Hassani. Very quick time, 1 motions the first 4 stones, and then goes over in a show of sportsmanship to root on Hassani while he was attempting his. So great sportsmanship from Pablo. Reza Gaitasi comes away in 5 stones in 18.43 seconds for 15 points. So it does exceptionally well versus Hossein Sada. A great time for him. Then we have Reza Tazaru, who is exceptionally consistent through all these events. 16 points, second place for him here. 5 stones in 17.22 seconds versus Masnabadi. And your winner of the Atlas Stones, 17 points go to Evgeny Markov. This is starting to look like a pattern. 5 stones in 15.73 seconds for him. He went last versus Cordayaka. He picked them up like they didn't weigh anything. Really, like this wide frame of his seems to just be built for some of these events. He was lapping the fifth one sort of like he thought because he had to, but it didn't really help him at all. He could have one motion that one as well, in my opinion. So that's how the Atlas Stone shook out at Middle East Strongest Man 2021. Let's have a look at the overall standings. So starting off, we have Ali Reza Baba Shakali, who is the one who had to withdraw. He ends up in 17th place with 8 points. 16th goes to Madi Kayati with 10 points. 15th place and 21 points go to Kip Peaver. 14th place and 24.5 points go to Dale McPherson. 13 points, 13th place, and 34.5 points go to Salman Salem. 12th place with 36 points goes to Aref Ahmadi. 11th place with 38 points goes to Salem Hersala. 10th place at 42.5 points goes to Ben Williams. 9th place with 43 points goes to Ilya Khazoff. 8th place with 45 points goes to Ibrahim Hassani. 7th place with 53 points goes to Mohsen Masnabadi. 6th place with 56 points goes to Pavlo Nakonechny, who ends up doing very well here, but does not get the WUS qualifier. We'll see who does in a moment. Hossein Sada ends up in 5th place with 61 points. Reza Gaitasi, the Giant, ends up in 4th place, just misses the podium with 63.5 points. 67 points go to our first podium finisher, 3rd place, Mohammad Reza Tazaru. My favorite competitor in this competition. I'm going to be following him going forward for sure. Then you have Pablo Cordayaka coming in with a silver medal, 2nd place with 70 points. And that leaves our winner, the Middle East Strongest Man 2021, Evgeny Markov, 79 points in 1st place for him. Let's take a quick look at how his placings progressed throughout. So in the log press, Evgeny Markov was in 1st place, 17 points. As we go through, you'll see I have these columns called running points and running place. So he was 17 points 1st place after the log. If we move over to the super yoke, he was 1st place still after the super yoke. If we move over to the farmer's walk, he was 1st place with 50 points after the farmer's walk still. After chain railway carriage, 62 points, he was still in 1st place. And then after the Atlas Stones, of course, he finishes in 1st place. Evgeny Markov was never not leading this competition. Just stomped through an incredibly stacked field. Well worth your time to follow his career going forward. And I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Middle East Strongest Man 2021. And of course, until next time, as always, ciao, homie.